Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening today. Today is the 4th of August, year of our Lord 2025. Welcome to yet another edition of the Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, a.k.a. Motown Noah. Happy to have you guys here to start your week off with some Coping Hour. Lollapalooza wrapping up here in Chicago. Any of our Chicago listeners, I'm curious to know how Lollapalooza has destroyed your life. In the last 5 days, the last week that it's been a thing here, between them setting it up and then obviously, between the festival actually happening. It's been a disturbance. It's been quite disruptive, actually. Sort of the juxtaposition of living in a major population center is both wow, everything happens here as a good thing and then also as a bad thing. Wow, everything kind of happens here. And so Lollapalooza, if you don't leave your house, isn't a problem, but as somebody who for the last week has been leaving their house quite frequently and having to drive past, we live on the south side, so anytime we do anything, we have to drive past Grant Park, down Lakeshore Drive, and it's been very, very disruptive and has completely traffic has just been a complete nightmare, because it's people will be oh, well, we shouldn't take Lakeshore because Lollapalooza is happening, so we're going to take 90. And then 90's backed up, but then people are well, nobody's going to take Lakeshore because everybody's taking 90, and then rest assured, Lakeshore is also backed up. So it's been, again, very disruptive. And the other night, Olivia Rodrigo and her damn racket, she was blasting some pretty crazy lights, was able to see those from my house, took a fun little video. And it was fun, I guess, in some sense, to be wow, Olivia Rodrigo is a mile away from my house right now. That's pretty cool. I guess that's cool. She brought out Weezer for her show at Lollapalooza. For those who don't know, if you haven't been able to pick up on what I'm talking about here, Lollapalooza, just a massive music festival that happens here in downtown Chicago at the end of July every year. And wow, Olivia Rodrigo, wow, she's right next door. That's pretty cool. As I'm taping this, we're about 30 minutes away from Sabrina Carpenter taking the stage, closing out Lollapalooza weekend. Excited to see if she brings anybody out. Maybe we'll check in on that in the middle of the show. But I don't know. I guess it's fun in the sense that I couldn't hear it. We are very close. I couldn't hear anything when Kendrick and SZA, in the middle of their tour, they stopped by Chicago a month ago or something. It was actually sick because they were playing at Soldier Field, which is equally as close as Grant Park is to where we live. And obviously, they have a way better sound system than you would at Lollapalooza, because at Soldier Field, it's okay if you drown everything out. You don't want to do that at Lollapalooza. But what was crazy was when Kendrick and SZA were playing at Soldier Field, if we opened our window, I could hear SZA. And that's because the truth is, as much as I love her, I'm never going to go to a SZA show. It's just not, it's just never going to happen. I like her a lot, but Maddie and I don't care that much to go see one of her shows or something. But it was crazy to be able to open my window in my living room and hear SZA's voice, it carrying that far. So much so that I could hear when she was performing Scorsese Baby Daddy or All the Stars, or what's the one off of Control with Travis? Love Galore. I could hear Love Galore. We could hear Kendrick too, but it was so drowned out through wind and crowd and bass and, just general instrumental that you couldn't really tell what Kendrick was performing. But SZA's voice was so wow, that is SZA. And being able to hear her again from a mile away was super duper wild. Don't think that's going to really be the case tonight. Again, could see Olivia Rodrigo's light show, which was really, really fun. I don't know. I literally, where I'm positioned while I'm taping this show, I'll be able to look out the window like I'm doing right now if you're watching today's show. I will be able to see if Sabrina Carpenter closing out Lollapalooza weekend is doing anything crazy with the lights. And it is funny, and this is going to be the case, I imagine, with any music festival, the last night of any music festival. But again, I have personal experience with this with Lollapalooza. Never been to Lollapalooza, but a couple of years ago, a good friend of mine, the guy actually who, if you've been watching the channel for a long time, he was the one who filmed the Man on the Street Milwaukee video when they won the championship that we did. Him and I went down to Lollapalooza on the last night, maybe 2021 or 2022, And I filmed him doing Man on the Street, just interviewing super fucked up people as they were walking out, right? And while we were doing that, the funniest thing about the last night of a music festival is the drug dealers who like still have a little bit of shit left that they just gotta get off of, that they just gotta sell, because otherwise how are they gonna sell this? So like when you see this like mass crowd of people exiting a festival and they're like, I got 2 tabs, I got an 1/8, you know, like whatever, I got a dime bag, like whatever it is. And they're just broadcasting it like they're, I don't know, like they're a damn taxi driver. Anybody need a ride? But it's like, again, it's like, anybody need a tab? Anybody need an 8-ball? Anybody need like a you know what I mean? That was fun. I don't remember what drug we almost bought. I don't remember I don't think it was acid. I don't remember what it was. But I said to my buddy, I was like, I don't know. We're just kind of out. I was like, do you want to buy this? He was like, no, I don't want to buy this from some random guy. I was like, how else are you going to buy drugs from people as if it's not just some random guy? What we did end up doing, though, this is honestly in the same vein, is like the low-key street vendors who sell like street cocktails. They also are trying to get off of their shit, or get off of their product. You know what I mean? And so I remember we ended up buying a couple of bottles of like apple juice and vodka from some guy. They hit. They super duper hit. Because he could have done anything. I mean, most of the people who were there probably wouldn't be able to, they're rolling off of some shit like one way or another. They're not going to know if it's just like apple juice and water. It was not apple juice and water. That dude put some shit in that apple juice. It was like, I don't know, like if you went to 7-Eleven and bought a thing of, is a voice crack that I will acknowledge, but I'm not acknowledging it. I'm just going to move past it. If you go to 7-Eleven and buy an apple juice, like, you know, like a little singular thing, it was like that size, but half of it was liquor. So we bought a couple of those. It's like $4 each. And I was like, I think you're losing money on this. Although I guess on the last night, as I'm sort of saying all this, on the last night, again, you really are just trying to get off of all of it. And you don't really care. So I'm just saying all this just to say, as I'm taping this, within the next 2 hours, those people are going to be out in full force. Those people will be at like at their most desperate moment, being like, please buy my drugs, please buy my alcohol, please buy whatever it is that I'm trying to peddle, so that I can eat tomorrow. And if you are at Lollapalooza this weekend, for all of our Chicago listeners, I hope that you indulge. I hope that you, because it goes back into the economy at the end of the day. You know, you can, you buy drugs. You're a drug addict. Yeah, but the person who you bought those drugs from is probably going to put it into their 401k or maybe into the stock market or something like that. So at the end of the day, it is sort of like an indirect stimulus package, I guess, is maybe the way that you could look at it. So Lollapalooza here in Chicago, wrapping up, been very disruptive, but a lot of people downtown having a good time, getting absolutely destroyed. Hey, I want to start today's episode by issuing, I'll do this now. I want to issue an apology to the listeners out there, because you guys have been sending in a lot of good emails, and for one reason or another, I just haven't gotten to reading a lot of them. So I am really going to try to focus on emails today. There's like one thing that I want to talk about that isn't related to emails, and maybe we'll do that in a little bit. Lucia comes to mind. Lucia sent in a really good email as it pertained to all of the Sydney Sweeney stuff, American Eagle, Sydney Sweeney stuff, that I just didn't get a chance to read, mainly because I decided it was probably for the best to just drop that story. Because when I started talking about it, I was doing it as a goof, and then I didn't realize that whole thing was going to get co-opted by the right as like a whole thing. And so once I saw that happen, I was like, oh, well, that doesn't make me look very good. So I just decided it was probably best to drop that whole thing. But copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this program. We got an email today that I thought was really interesting. It was on Friday. It was not today. This one comes into us from Alex. Alex, welcome to the show. What's up? Subject line: your take on getting/requesting autographs. Hi, Nick. Hope you and the family are well. I need your take on a hobby I participate in that I would consider lightly controversial: getting autographs from professional athletes. In my large metro area with both an NBA and MLB team, I've gotten autographs inside of stadiums, And by waiting outside of their, well, okay, so you said, I have gotten autographs by waiting inside of the stadium, and then parenthetically you said self-explanatory, just go hang out by the tunnel/dugout, close parentheses, and by waiting outside of their team hotel. And then again, parenthetically, you said, this is more normal than it sounds. Each hotel and team has a designated waiting area that people can line up in. To break the email for a second, that's true. I mean, when we did Surveillance Week here at the Coping Hour for the NBA Combine, just a couple of months ago, like a month before the NBA draft, and I was constantly circling the Marriott that all of the guys were staying at here, and right next door to the Wintrust Arena, where they were doing a lot of all of the Combine and stuff like that. So the hotel is where they do the actual draft lottery. And then right next door, right across the street, is the Wintrust Arena, which is where like DePaul basketball plays, and it's where like the Chicago Sky play. That's where they were doing the actual Combine. And so I would take my son in a stroller, and we would just circle the hotel and the arena for about an hour just to see if I could see anybody. And there was a designated area where autograph hounds were hanging out. So yeah, this is a real thing. You know, however you look at it, it is absolutely a real thing. So let's get back to the email. I consider this lightly controversial for a few reasons. One, people associate this activity with children and think that adults doing it are stealing the opportunity from the kids. Two, the quote-unquote grown-ass man crowd thinking that idolizing anyone past the age of 16 is gay for some reason. Number three. Number three, people think that adults doing this are in it for the money and just resell what autographs they get. Number four, invasion of player privacy. Parenthetically, see Kelsey Plum's response to getting asked for an autograph outside of their team hotel. Again, to break the email, if nobody saw Kelsey's reaction, this is a month or two ago at this point. There was one or two guys who were asking for Kelsey's autograph outside of a team hotel. I feel like she had just gotten off the bus or something. And they're like, hey, like, can we get your autograph? And she was like, what are you doing? Like, this is weird. This is weird that you're here. And, like, you know that this is weird, right? And blah, 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 blah. The interaction from what we saw in the video definitely made it seem like, I don't know, girl, like, you're famous. You're really good at basketball. Like, people kind of be wanting your autograph. Like, I don't know. I don't know if she clocked it as like you guys are definitely going to resell this. And so like, this is because she went off on this whole, like, this is weird. Like what you're doing is weird. And like, you see that, right? Like, I think that was her words. Like you see, like you understand how this is weird, right? Like leave me alone kind of thing. And I don't know if maybe there was some context missing from the video, but it did kind of come off as like, do you not know like what this is? Like, God forbid you're famous enough that people want your autograph. I don't know. Ultimately, she's a player that I will always hold in high regard, and so I don't really know how to. But I totally get what you're saying, and also kind of goes back to the first part of what you're saying here in the email, which is like maybe she just clocked it as like you're in your mid-30s and you're asking me for my autograph just so you can sell it. And maybe that's what she was saying was weird. Maybe that was the behavior that she was identifying as like, please leave me alone. It's unknowable. It's unknowable. But the clip was definitely a little bit like, what's the problem here? Back to the email. For the purity of the take, I will not tell you if I do any of those things besides the team hotel, but I like to think I don't violate boundaries or personally believe any of them. There are definitely people that push kids out of the way to get an autograph. There are definitely gay people. And what does that have to do with anything? So what if there are? I get what you mean. And then you said there are most definitely resellers, and some people are indeed obsessed weirdos. In the purest form, what do you think about this hobby? I love this email, and I apologize that I didn't just like read it all the way through, and so maybe it was a little bit hard to follow there because I just kept breaking the email and sort of ISOing and doing my own thing. Because I really think you did a good job of covering all the bases here. So when I talk about Surveillance Week and I it was the first time I had ever truly seen autograph hounds before. It was the first time like, you always know that those people exist, right? And it's one thing when you're at a game and you're hanging out by a tunnel, pre-game or post-game or something like that. It's like you're at the game. That's like when you're supposed to ask for autographs. You know what I mean? I'm going to say right now, I think we're all going to agree, there's nothing wrong with when you're at the game asking for an autograph. Yeah, dog, like that's just kind of like when the best time to do it is, right? Outside of team hotels is where it gets a little bit dicey, depending on the type of person that you are. Because when you talk about guys at the NBA Combine sitting outside of the Marriott with like lawn chairs and binoculars and like a whole, box full of shit that they want any given player, player X to sign as soon as they have a sighting of them. Because it's one thing when you're like, hey, I have this rookie card, grade 10. I would love it if you signed it just for my own personal, you know what I mean? That's one thing. I have a Sports Illustrated cover. I have a, like name one thing. One thing I think is the limit. Because as soon as you start to ask a player to sign more than one thing, A, leave them alone. B, then it starts to be like, okay, are you doing this so that they can resell or so that you can resell something? Because that's when it really stinks, and that's what all of the guys who were sitting outside of the Marriott, like waiting for Cooper Flagg to come out. I mean, they would have like 6 basketballs and a stack of magazines and a whole crate full of basketball cards and all this stuff. Can you sign this? And and then this one other thing. And but what about also this? And yeah, then I do think it sucks, right? When you're knocking kids out of the way, again, that is a thing that happens. I'm not going to say that that's like lame. Well, hold on. It is lame to knock kids out of the way because I do think that they should sort of get like first dibs on having any interaction with these players whatsoever, point blank period. I don't care if you've rooted for one player for your entire life and you finally have an opportunity to get in front of them. I just think like the kids are the ones who should get that opportunity first. I just do, right? Maybe that's a fatherhood thing. I don't know. Maybe I would have said that even before I had a kid. Like, I really don't know. But I also think it's interesting. The day that, I'm recording this episode, there was a video that started to circulate. Phil Foden, he plays for Manchester City. For those of you who don't give a shit about soccer, or Americans out there who don't give a shit about soccer. A guy who plays for City, his name is Phil Foden, one of the top, like, at worst, 7 best players in the country, in England, rather, for the national team. Probably, like, one of the 3 best players on that team. There's a video of him. It was a little bit hard for me to, like, get the tone of, like, what the interaction actually was. But there was a parent and a child asking Phil Foden to sign more than one thing. And kind of like tongue-in-cheek, he was like, wow, how many fucking things do you want me to sign? Like, I'll keep signing shit as long as you give me half of the dough that you're going to make off of reselling this stuff, right? Again, like, tonally, if you just read the headline, it seemed like it was aggressive, but if you watch the video, it seemed like it was a little bit lighthearted. I really couldn't tell. Their sense of humor over there is a little bit over my head sometimes. But it is kind of reflective of, like, what you're saying here, because if I'm Cooper Flagg and I'm walking out of the Marriott to go across the street to, like, go do the NBA Combine, and a guy who's 45 years old is asking me to sign 6 basketball cards and 2 basketballs and 5 magazines and 2 jerseys, this isn't all going up in your man cave. You know what I mean? And so that, I think, as a player is kind of where you, and it, it's unknowable, you and me, listening to this or talking about this, it's unknowable to, like, put ourselves in that person's shoes. But I do think it would, because these are people that people have profited off of their name, image, and likeness for who knows how many years up to this point. But it does kind of stink a little bit when it's just like some fucking guy, who's like making money off of my signature. That sucks. What do I think about, like, the etiquette of it? I really think you can do it anywhere. Like if somebody's eating dinner and you see LeBron, if you see LeBron eating dinner, don't go up and ask for his autograph. That's not cool. But, like, if you're camping outside of a Four Seasons you know, because you know an NBA team is in town. One thing, I just think it's one. I just think that's kind of what you get, and then anything beyond that, to me, just feels a little bit like, I don't want to say transparent because I think it's reasonable to think that you might have like a jersey and a card or like whatever it is. Like you might have two things that you want somebody to sign. So maybe the answer is two. Anything more than that, I just think you're being greedy, and I think it's like there's a better way to spend that time that you have with that player. Does that make sense? Like take a picture, ask them a question or something. Because this is my thing is I think this, I don't want to project my own, how do I pluralize this? Like introversy or like, I'm very much an introvert and I don't want to project that onto this question, but like more often than not, I'm not going to bother anybody. I didn't even say this in the last episode. Please don't let me forget to tell the story. I'm not going to do it right now. The entire team for West Ham, we went to the mall, bro. The entire team, because the mall was connected to the Four Seasons in downtown Chicago. Me to this camera away, if you're watching today's episode, this is how close I was to the West Ham team. I could do this if I wanted to. You know what I said to them? Nothing. I want to tell this. I'll tell this story later. Please don't let me forget to tell this story. Name a guy on the team that made the trip to America. That's how close we were. Right there. This was like 4 days ago. This was 24 hours after the game that they played in Chicago. The entire fucking team was me to you away. I didn't say anything to them. We didn't ask for a picture. I didn't ask for anything. Left them alone. Everybody else was bothering them. Completely left them alone. That's just how I am. More often than not, I'm not going to bother anybody. But again, I don't want to project that onto, because it's not unreasonable to be like, holy shit, you're a famous person, player, athlete, like whatever it is. You're right in front of me. I'm probably never going to have this opportunity again. This is my moment. Dude, go do it. I wouldn't, but I think that like a rational person, a reasonable person should do that. So like, do I think you're wrong to do, if we go over it one more time, people associate this activity with children and think that adults doing it are stealing opportunity from kids? No. No, sports are the most important thing in the world that doesn't matter at all. And so I don't care if you're 60 years old. Like, yes, again, I think kids should get first in line. I do believe that. You should let the kids do it first. And if the player still has time, go ahead and ask. Like, I don't know. You're not too old to care. So the first one, no. The quote-unquote grown-ass man crowd thinking that idolizing anyone past the age of 16 is gay for some reason, that is like total internet bullshit and isn't real. And I think you know that. Who cares? Even like me seeing Cooper Flagg, he's what, 10 years younger than me? I would be like, holy shit, dude, that's awesome that I'm standing in front of you right now. Because you're like you're so talented. That's awesome. I don't know. You're not too old to recognize how talented somebody is. You know, even if you're a 50-year-old guy, you can look at an 18-year-old kid and be like, brother, you're just so damn talented. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But again, I think you know that. People think that, number 3, people think that adults doing this are in it for the money and just resell whatever autographs they get. Yeah. That one is, I think true. I do think that there is a certain, again, like you can be 60 years old and be asking for an autograph and, you know, be doing it in a very earnest way and not reselling it. But that, I think, just goes back to how many things are you asking them to sign? Because as soon as you get to 3 things, you're selling something here. You know what I mean? And then I do think it's like, leave them alone at that point. Because that is such a horseshit way of making a living. I really think it is. I thought I was going to have more on that. I don't. Then the last one you said, number 4, it's an invasion of player privacy. I mean, that one's tricky because you don't want to be the person who's like, well, you're in the spotlight. It comes with the territory. Yeah, but it does. You know, in some way it is what you signed up for. when you're 8 years old and you're like, one day I want to make it to the NBA, well, no matter how much of a percentage it is, even if it's 1% of the pie chart, 1% of that is like, I want to be famous, and I want people to be wearing my jersey, and I want people to care about me, and I want people to chant my name, shit like that. I want to be at the free throw line, MVP, MVP, MVP. There's always a little bit of that in there, you know? And so it's invading their privacy when they're, like I said earlier, when they're at dinner, they're eating something, they're with their family, they're clearly doing something, having like a medium intimate experience. In that instance, leave them alone. You know how many celebrities are like in a bathroom stall and then they come out and there's just like somebody like sitting there waiting for them? Sarah Jessica Parker actually has a lot of anecdotes about this, where she's like in a bathroom stall and she goes to wash her hands and somebody's just like right there waiting for her. Leave them alone in that instance, actually. Like, wait till maybe she comes out, and then, like, I don't know. There's a time when it's right, and I think you just kind of have to have a good barometer for that. And so is it I don't know, they're getting off the bus and going into the team hotel? Yeah, no. That's just part of it. I think that's just part of it. It's not hard to find out when you live in a major city what hotels these teams stay at, right? Like in Chicago, I know when it's the Combine, they're going to stay at the Marriott. That's what they do. I know when it's the regular season and the Pistons come to town, they're going to stay at the Four Seasons. That's just how this works, right? I just think that's kind of part of like doing your due diligence as a fan. But even that kind of sounds like you're stalking them. That one does get a little bit dicey. I'll give you that one. It is super circumstantial and a little bit, not quite a minefield, but it is a little bit hard to navigate. Really good email, though, and I appreciated it. But and since we're on the subject, you know, just kind of talking about the NBA, maybe this is a good time to do this. I don't know if I really have a take yet, so I just want to say this up front. Maybe a week or two ago, we did a very, very brief segment about how expansion in the NBA has kind of got flipped on its head. And, you know, we spent the last 2 years, not just on this show, but I think culturally kind of accepting this reality that we will get Seattle, we will get Las Vegas as soon as this new TV deal hits in the NBA, right? Well, what was it, like a little under a year ago, this new TV deal came through, and it was a little bit strange that we hadn't heard anything about expansion. We hadn't heard anything about Vegas. We hadn't heard anything about Seattle. And then the most recent history, after a couple months of Adam Silver kind of softening his language on expansion, the most recent update that we got, I think it was from the New York Times, gave a very light suggestion that there's collusion happening in the NBA amongst its owners, that they do not want a Seattle or a Vegas. They do not want domestic expansion, because if you add 2 more teams, then that's just X amount of money that has to get veered off into 2 other ownership groups' pockets, right? And this coalition of 30 owners in the NBA, as it stands, they want their money. Super lucrative TV deal. We're talking, what's the math? If it's $1.5 billion for 3 networks, that's $4.5 billion a season between ABC, Amazon, and NBC. In total, around $4.5 billion that gets split up in between amongst the 30 NBA owners in the NBA. They do not want to have to cut in 2 extra teams. They're doing this, a coalition led by James Dolan. They are doing this under the guise of, well, we don't want 2 extra teams in the NBA because we don't want it to be harder to win a championship. That's not a real argument, by the way. That's not a real argument. Because the way that we laid this out and I'm repeating some stuff that I said about a week or 2 ago. So if you listen to the show regularly, I apologize that I'm just repeating this stuff, but I think it's important for the setup here. That's not a real argument, because if you're adding 2 teams, and we have been led to believe it's 99% going to be Seattle and Vegas if that does happen, those are 2 teams that exist in the West. So the only way that you could do that where it actually works is you bump Memphis, who currently is in the West, but like geographically very much exists in the East. It's insane that they're in the West. You would bump Memphis to the Eastern Conference, and that way Seattle and Vegas can exist in the West, and you're really only adding like one team per conference. That's how the math works there. So you're not really, you know what I mean? Like there's not actually that much additional competition to this whole thing. All that you'd really be worried about is an expansion draft, but the truth is, all that would do for a lot of teams is give them the opportunity to lower their cap, or even for some teams to get under the second apron. So I think in a lot of ways, an expansion draft is going to help teams more than it's going to hurt them, right? Even the really good teams, by the way. Like a team like, who's a team in the second apron right now? Minnesota has to be. I mean, surely they are. They have to be. If there's an expansion draft, do they get under the second apron? There's a team that I'm not thinking of that's in the second apron that this would help them out a lot, right? Phoenix, maybe? I don't know. There's a team out there that I'm just not thinking of right now. Okay, so if that's not going to happen, the way that we've thought that it's going to happen for years at this point, we kind of got rug pulled, I feel like, a little bit. What the hell is going on? Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? We're going to read an article. I'm going to read this to you. We did this like a week ago. I don't like to read that much on this show outside of the actual emails that you guys send in because it's not a fucking book club. But I want to read this to you because I'm confused and I got questions. The NBA is considering expansion in Europe and absorbing, essentially, the EuroLeague. So let's get into this. This story was filed the day that I'm taping this, about 7 hours ago, from Yahoo Finance. Came into us from I gun to my head, I couldn't read this guy's name. Name of the article: NBA's European dream comes with a $500 million price tag per team. The NBA's global ambitions are beginning to take a tangible form, and they come with a staggering price tag. Reports indicate that the league is actively pitching a European expansion project with a franchise fee of $500 million or more per team. A figure that has stunned some existing EuroLeague stakeholders, but is enticing NBA owners for one simple reason: massive, immediate profit. Commissioner Adam Silver has spent the past week in Europe aggressively promoting the concept to elite stakeholders, including prestigious clubs like Real Madrid. Silver's sales pitch to European investors isn't just about the NBA brand, it's about entering an elite financial club. Each team that joins the envisioned quote-unquote NBA Europe league would have to pay a minimum of $500 million to buy in, with some sources suggesting that the NBA hopes for figures pushing closer to $1 billion per team. Now, I'm going to break it. I'm going to break the article right there. We'll get back to it in a second. So, okay, we have hypothesized that the expansion fee for anybody, if it's Seattle, if it's Vegas, if it's Mexico City, if it, whoever it ends up being, the expansion fee, it is quite unknowable, but it would be somewhere in the ballpark of like $500 to $750 million. It would be somewhere in there when you take into account like expansion fees in the past and what teams have sold for and TV rights deals and, all the media rights deals rather. And, all this, that, and the third. It's hard to calculate what it would actually be. But again, somewhere between $500 to $750 million. So that number does seem pretty crazy when you hear $500 million if Real Madrid wants to buy into this NBA Europe. But at the end of the day, it's an insane amount of money, but it is sort of just akin to like what Seattle would have to do or what Vegas would have to do. What's interesting is when they say a billion. What do you think? Rather, where do you think that comes from? Because if I'm thinking of the NBA squeezing European clubs dry for everything that they're worth, is this the NBA's way of truly getting into sovereign wealth funds? Is that what this is? Because it's hard, nowadays, I think there's a rule in the NBA where, it's not that, a foreigner can't buy an NBA team, but, Well, I don't know what the rule is, but I know that sovereign wealth funds are like not allowed to be in the NBA. I don't know what the actual language is in like I don't know whatever contract that would be, or like is that a CBA thing? I don't know what that would be. Sovereign wealth funds are not allowed to like participate in the NBA. By the way, private equity firms can. I don't. It's seemingly the same fucking picture.jpg. It's not, but like it is. You know what I mean? Bill Chisholm, the guy who just bought the Celtics for like $6 billion a couple of months ago, but that's a private equity guy. Didn't even have a Wikipedia page. The day that he bought the Celtics, did not have a Wikipedia page. Very interesting. You can spend $6 billion and as a man and not have a Wikipedia page. Okay. So like, if the indication that, you know, Emirates is allowed to, I don't want to do the Emirates thing again because it has nothing really honestly to do with anything. Sovereign wealth funds are something that if a couple of you out there care about soccer who listen to this show, what has that done to European football? Specifically the Premier League, because at the end of the day, that's kind of the only league that I know like the most about, right? What has that done to the Premier League? I don't want to say it's destroyed it because I think that's super sensationalist. It's super sensationalist to say that sovereign wealth funds have destroyed European football. Did it destroy PSG? Not really. I mean, they didn't really break the rules, I don't think. City has broken the rules. I don't think Chelsea, I don't think is, aren't they an American ownership group? I think they are. Isn't it the same group that owns the Red Sox? They might not be American. That part, I shouldn't have even brought this up because I honestly don't remember. So I apologize. I don't remember that part off the top of my head. Well, actually, there is a little something in there, honestly. Is like America getting involved in European shit never works. As far as sports go, it doesn't work. When you see an American investment group get involved in a European soccer team, I mean, 9 times out of 10, 95 times out of 100, that shit fails and it stinks. One example off the top of my head where it works, Wrexham. I mean, that's the most like commercially successful club that you can think of off the top of your head. That would otherwise, I should say, as a stipulation to that would otherwise have no business being as successful as they are. But because they have like TV money and like movie star money, they've just spent it at promotion after promotion after promotion after promotion. There's a non-zero chance that this time next year they're in the fucking Premier League. How insane is that? I don't know. Let's get back to the email, though, because I think there's some interesting stuff in here. For NBA owners, so just to recap, where we left off was it could be up to $1 billion for a Euro club team to buy into this NBA Europe. So back to the article. For NBA owners back in the United States, the math is simple. 10 new teams at $500 million each means $5 billion in expansion revenue, all without having to touch their share of national television rights or league equity. That windfall would dwarf the proceeds from typical domestic expansion, and with no need to divvy up existing revenue streams, it's a no-brainer from a business standpoint. That's the part that, just to break it again, that's the part that I don't understand at all. I don't understand that at all. Because they're not in America. Because I'll spoil a little bit of the rest of the article. It's not explained what exactly this NBA Europe is supposed to be. I've seen a lot of discourse on this, and I don't think anybody understands exactly. So please explain this to me. It's not that if Barcelona and Real Madrid and I don't know, fucking Tel Aviv or something. I don't know. Name it. That's not technically Europe, but you know what I mean. Like, name a different club. This NBA Europe is not part of the NBA. It's under the NBA umbrella. And so you're not adding 10 teams. That's not what this is. And so that's why. But that's what I don't fucking understand is. So if you're. Who's an owner? You're Tom Gores. You're the owner of the Detroit Pistons. Barcelona and Real Madrid say, we love this idea. Here's, at a minimum, $500 million. We'd love to buy into NBA Europe. because the structure of Euro basketball is a little bit weird and confusing to me. Does it really exist? I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not going to speak on it because I don't know. So the NBA owners would get to reap the benefits of these expansion fees, despite these teams not actually being part of the league. And so they wouldn't have to, we talk about $4.5 billion per season for the next 10 years between 3 networks that get split up amongst these owners. NBA Europe, these Euro teams don't get a piece of that because they're not part of the NBA. They're just under its umbrella. Yeah, that does make sense. From a business decision, it's shitty and it's fucked up and it's wrong. And doesn't also, by the way, make any goddamn sense. It makes sense, but it doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? So the owners are colluding against domestic expansion and instead promoting international expansion because they'll get richer at the expense of European clubs who have money to burn? Who does this help? Is my question. I don't know. Like whose product does this actually help outside of, I don't know, Adam Silver doing his quote unquote job, which is making the owners a shit ton of money, which in this instance he would. That's his job. Makes sense. Let's get back to it. The proposed NBA Europe model isn't aiming to create clubs from scratch. Instead, it would likely feature a quote-unquote licensed EuroLeague. It would likely feature quote-unquote a license, unquote, EuroLeague clubs that are already major institutions in their respective countries. Right, so this is just saying if it's not creating new clubs, it's adding a Real Madrid or it's adding a Barcelona or something like that, right? Teams with legacy fan bases, high visibility, and established infrastructure would be the ideal foundation for the league. Among the names floated as eager participants are Real Madrid, and I couldn't tell you any of these clubs that are named here. I'm not even going to try to pronounce any of these. But not everyone is sold. At least one EuroLeague executive reportedly scoffed at the proposed $500 million buy-in, hinting at the financial gulf between even elite European teams and NBA-level valuation. European basketball doesn't yet generate the kind of revenue that would make such an investment an obvious return, raising concerns about whether the NBA is pricing out exactly the teams it hopes to recruit. Wow, that's actually a good question. Can I read that last sentence again? European basketball does not yet generate the kind of revenue that would make such an investment an obvious return, which raises concerns about whether the NBA is pricing out exactly the teams it hopes to recruit. Yeah, like this isn't soccer, you know? I know like Luka was playing for Real Madrid before he came over here. I don't remember if it was that he was the MVP of the league for Real Madrid or if they won a championship and maybe he was the finals MVP. It could have been both, honestly. I don't really remember, but I remember he was playing for Real Madrid. And it's like, they don't have soccer money. You know, I don't know ownership group wise if they're the same clubs and you shuffle some money. I don't know how any of that works, to be honest with you. I don't know how any of that works. But it does seem like a lot of money for clubs and for a league that it's not the biggest sport over there. You know? Like, you're not adding a team to London. Maybe you will eventually. But the truth is that, like, in England, it's just not a sport that most of the country cares about. Or like the United Kingdom as a whole cares about. What, are you going to add a team in Northern Ireland? You going to add a Welsh team? Probably not. You going to add a Scottish team? Probably not. Like, probably not. It's just not what they care about. The same way that, like, I don't know, you know who doesn't have a professional rugby team with a super lucrative media rights deal? New York, Los Angeles, Miami, Houston, Boston. Like, name a, you know what I mean? Like, name a dominant market in the United States. Sometimes major population centers just, like, don't care about something. I'm not saying that Spain doesn't care about basketball, that Germany doesn't care about basketball. They do, but it's just a different beast. And I think this price tag, I don't know. I really, who am I to say? I have no idea. You and I at home, we have no idea if they're good for it. But it just seems like Adam Silver is really doing his due diligence to see how much money he can squeeze from somebody that isn't in the United States and will make the owners the most amount of money while having to give up the least amount of money. He's operating on their behalf and he's doing what his job is. And so even if we think it's a little bit icky, because I don't know if icky's the right word. Annoying is maybe the word that it is. It is, again, like, okay, I guess he's just really good at his job. It's just too bad that his job is a little bit horseshit sometimes. I don't know. I apologize because this segment is really all over the place. I'm really all over the place with this one. So let's get back to it. Still, the NBA. So sorry, where we left off was one executive for an anonymous EuroLeague team was like $500 million. How about you go fuck yourself? So let's get back to it. Still, the NBA is betting that the allure of its brand, combined with big money support from sovereign wealth funds and private equity, fucking got him. Fucking got him. Fucking got him. Fucking got him. Got him. Got him. From the crow's nest. The Lord is my shepherd. Sovereign wealth funds and private equity. That's what all this shit is about. That's what all of this shit is about. Let me just get right back to it. I don't want to do a victory lap right now. I'll start from the beginning. Still, the NBA is betting that the allure of its brand, combined with big money support from sovereign wealth funds and private equity, will bridge that gap. In London this week, Silver reportedly met with reps from top-tier financial groups like CVC, Redbird, Bridgeport, and KKR, as well as executives from Turkish powerhouse Galatasaray. Does Galatasaray even have a fucking basketball team? Apparently they do. I have no idea. I have no idea. $500 million, though? It seems like it would be their whole... You know what I mean? $500 million? Maybe I'm wrong. Who's the best Turkish basketball player I can think of? Haydu Turkoglu, Enes Kanter. I think Alperen Şengün is Turkish, isn't he? Yeah, the Turkish agent. Yeah, there's a whole conspiracy about him and how... what's the guy's name? Erdogan? Is that how you say it? Not Erdogan. It's Erdogan, I think. Some people have speculated that Alperen Şengün is an agent of his. I guess they got some good basketball players out of there. So, hey, again, who knows? Shout out to Galatasaray. The NBA hopes that by welcoming foreign investment into a European league, something strictly regulated in U.S.-based NBA franchises, they can create a lucrative transatlantic basketball business model. So they did kind of mention in there something that I said at the beginning of this, which is I don't know exactly what the rules are, but I know that it's almost like being the president of the United States. You have to be an American. You have to be I don't think you have to be born in America. I don't know what the rules are, but again, sovereign wealth funds are not allowed in the NBA. Which is probably for the best, because otherwise they would just pay luxury tax and they'd be like, oh, we're in the second apron. That's fine. We'll just go drill more oil and it's fine. Back to the story. Broadcast rights, state-of-the-art arenas, and merchandising are all part of the NBA's long-term vision. While it remains unclear how European fans will react to the idea of abandoning tradition for a pricier American-branded league, the financial incentive for owners is undeniable. NBA Europe isn't a pipe dream anymore. It's a billion-dollar blueprint waiting for signatures. And that's it. That's the article. So this is what I'm saying. I apologize because I know I stopped and started reading that article a lot of times, and I'm sorry if it was hard to follow there, and I didn't do a good job of that. I don't have a take yet because I don't understand what this is at all. I don't understand what the model is here. Is this like the NFL and the XFL? You know what I mean? Because this isn't like the Premier League and the Championship League. That's not what this is. This isn't like two divisions. It's not a merger. It's not like two leagues coming together. Like is Galatasaray and Real Madrid at the same time coming to the United States for 2 weeks to play a bunch of NBA teams and then going back over. And then while that's happening, the Spurs and the Warriors are going over to Europe and doing a whole tour for 2 weeks and playing all of the Euro teams and then coming back. It doesn't sound like it's that. It's not that. It can't be that, because if it was that, then the European teams would be getting a share of the new media rights deal, which the reason that the NBA owners are pushing this and not domestic expansion is so that these teams don't get a piece of that. So what the fuck is this? I don't get it. I'm scared that in like a week, a month, who knows how long, it's unknowable, I'm going to like look back to why I'm so confused and feel dumb. Or even like you guys, one of you will leave a comment and just like completely explain it to me. And like, I don't. So this is just, it's still the Euro League, but it's under the National Basketball Association, National Basketball Association American umbrella. But it's the same. I just don't. You know what I mean? I'm really confused about this. And ultimately, it kind of pisses me off a lot, actually. Because at some point, it does stink when, like, I don't know, like, why do I want Seattle so bad? Why do I want Vegas so bad? I don't know, bro, but I do. I do. And it's not about, like, me being anti-European expansion. It truly is a matter of time, and that's it, until the NFL does it. You know, I think you look at a team like the Jaguars specifically, and, like, maybe it won't end up being them, but how willing they've been to go play in London. And, you know, as the NFL, you know, starts to play more games in Brazil or Germany or England, I don't know what the timeline is. Within the next 20 years, like, there will be NFL teams beyond America's borders, 100%. The same way that I believe, no matter what ends up happening here between now and the end of this TV deal, which I think is like 10 years, or maybe it's just till the end of the decade, which is like 5 years. I don't remember off the top of my head. But it's super lucrative. Again, $4.5 billion a season. Per season! $4.5 billion. At some point in yours and I's lifetime, there will be NBA teams beyond America's borders. It's going to happen. But, and is this the baby step? Is that all this is? Is this just like, is this the NBA's way of getting ahead of like whatever LeBron might do by the time his career ends? We talked a little bit about it an episode or two ago. I think he's going to do something. I think something's going on with LeBron. Him and Maverick Carter are always cooking something up. And this is one of those things that I'm not doing it yet. I might plant my flag. I might be right. I think I might be right. I don't know if it's like Live Golf adjacent. You know, Live Golf, you know, you talk about sovereign wealth funds. I don't necessarily mean it in that sense, but I don't know. Is there a world where LeBron and Maverick Carter start a competitor league akin to like the Big Three or the basketball tournament? Maybe it's not 3-on-3. Maybe it's 5-on-5. Maybe they just get, I don't know. I have no idea what that looks like. And honestly, this is just really crossing my wires. I just wanted to put this on your radar because it really confused me. NBA basketball looking to expand into Europe. Have you seen that? Have you heard about that? copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. This is so tough, dude. So many emails that I've just been... let's do this one because I did mean to read this one in the last episode and I didn't get a chance to do it. This is a hard departure from sports. So we're not doing sports for a second. Is that all right, folks? This one comes into us from Nathan. Nathan, welcome back to the show. Subject line here is actors don't matter. Hey, Nick. I hope you and the family are healthy, happy, and enjoying some positive vibrations. First, you seen this Yellowstone thing? Fuck that. I don't even want to think about it. Yellowstone thing. Are you talking about the show? how it's a bunch of bullshit for like boomers. No, but like not my grandparents. My grandparents wouldn't even fall for Yellowstone. They'd think that show was really dumb. Unless Pop and Grandma, unless you guys like Yellowstone, I don't think you guys would have watched that. I don't think you would have. Kevin Costner, is that his show? Or are you talking about the fake thing where people were like, animals are leaving Yellowstone, and it was people got? That's not a thing that's happening. People thought that Yellowstone was going to explode, and people were putting out like not fake videos, but old videos like in mass, saying that animals were evacuating on their own accord Yellowstone because it was going to explode, which ended up, it's not true. It's not a real thing. So it's unknowable what you're talking about. But either way, yeah, I agree with you. Back to the email. Second, and mainly, I don't think that actors really matter in a movie if you as a moviegoer are doing your job. Suspending your disbelief. Some of the most enjoyable and fun movies to watch are Marvel movies or the Star Wars saga or fuck it, About a Boy. Parenthetically, generational rom-com, by the way. If you can find one person who is mad that Chris Hemsworth isn't a more believable Thor while he's being teleported by a rainbow to a different dimension, I will drop my whole argument. I guess I'm just mad because I hate There Will Be Blood. Right, so sorry to break the email for a second. Right, so this got sent in because I said that There Will Be Blood was amazing because of Daniel Day-Lewis. I think that's what this email came from. So let's get back to it. I guess I'm just mad because I hate There Will Be Blood, and I think it's a bad movie, and just because Daniel Day-Lewis was giving a big, notice how I said big and not good, he was not acting well. He was just very overstated and overt with all his emotions. Whoa! Whoa! We will unpack that. We'll unpack that. Whoa! Flagrant. Let's go to VAR. I'm already back. Fuck you. Penalty, top right corner. You're fucking getting sent off. Red card. Fuck you, Nathan. Shut up. Let's get back to your email. Performance does not mean it's a good movie. Even movies with some of the best and most believable performances aren't made by great performance. I'm thinking of Good Will Hunting's amazing story or Manchester by the Sea's profound sense of setting and isolation. These are great performances, yes, but they don't make the movie great. When you are going to see a movie, you are there to pretend that something is real, so just say fuck it and believe that the movie is real. And then you put in your top 11 rom-coms. About a Boy, Set It Up, The Princess Bride, Grosse Point Blank, Crazy Stupid Love, Mamma Mia, shout out to ABBA, Long Shot, Four Weddings and a Funeral, Better Off Dead, Emile? I don't know what that one is. Notting Hill. There's no The Notebook in here. There's no The Notebook in here. You can tell me that that's basic, but I don't. It's still one of the best rom-coms that has ever been made. Ryan Gosling almost killed himself because Rachel McAdams wouldn't go on a date with him. That's like that's the beginning of the movie. And you didn't like it? So here's what stinks. I completely agree with this email. I completely agree with it. And I also think when I rewatched There Will Be Blood like 2 weeks ago, one of the things I texted my brother was I was like, what's crazy is this movie isn't good. Like if anybody other than Daniel Day-Lewis was in this role, I don't think it would be that interesting. The plot is not interesting. It's about a guy who is so fueled by his own competition, his own competitiveness, and his own rage and hatred of other people that he's just like, I'm going to drill oil better than everybody else. And then, I mean, what else is there in the movie? He's like, I hate God. I reject the idea of Christ. And I hate Paul Dano. And also my son is deaf and I can't handle that. And so I sent him away. That's like the whole movie. It's not interesting. But like, the set pieces are, I guess. To me, God damn, I hate that Daniel Day-Lewis take so much. I fucking hate that take so much. He was just, let me read what you said verbatim. Daniel Day-Lewis was giving a big, notice how I said big and not good. He was not acting well. He was just very overstated and overt with all of his emotions. You have never in your life seen an actor invent a guy before. He invented a fucking guy. Not only did he invent a guy, he invented an accent. That accent is like something that we don't technically know if it was like a real thing or not. Because what is it? He's from Wisconsin, but he spent most of his life in the West during, like, the gold rush and then the oil, you know, all this bullshit. He's, oh, oil, whoa, oil, impressed. There's not that much audio of people talking in the mid to late 1800s when the movie, like, first starts. And so he and Paul Thomas Anderson had to scrounge up as much as they possibly could of, like, any recordings at all. And they kind of just had to invent an accent. There has never been anybody who has played an anti-hero the way that Daniel Day-Lewis did in that movie. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Where, like, as somebody, and maybe I'm projecting here, maybe this is just me, as somebody who, in any given movie when there's like a quote-unquote anti-hero, it's very easy for me to identify with them, and even if they have some shortcomings or they're just objectively evil, but their perspective is the one that we're told through whatever medium that it is easy for me to come around and be like, yeah, I'd root for you. Daniel Day-Lewis does such an incredible job of depicting someone so despicable who is driven again by his own competitiveness and his own disdain for humanity that I could never a day in my life wish that I would be like him, ever. And I just am so sad that you don't think that he acted well in that movie. I really don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, right, you just win an Oscar for being the best actor because you weren't acting good, right? So who's wrong here? The fucking Academy or fucking Nathan, who always likes to send in cross-country skiing emails? Who's fucking wrong here? Let me take a wild guess. It's not the fucking Academy. Now, I don't really like that argument because they've gotten that shit wrong constantly. Constantly. I think the Oscars is one of, like, the last remaining award shows that takes itself the most seriously, but the bar isn't very high. I think the Grammys are just, like, totally just, like, I don't want to be the one who uses the word cooked or washed, but, like, I don't think the Grammys is really ever, in my life, in the, I don't know, how do I phrase this? I don't know what the time frame is, but at this point, at this stage in the Grammys cycle, I just don't think it's a reflection of how people actually feel about music. The Emmys, I think, does a good job. Like the I'm getting my wires crossed here. The Screen Actors Guild shit, they do a better job of it. Again, the Emmys are good. The Oscars as a spectacle is good, but I don't know. Daniel Day-Lewis is a timeless actor who went out on top after Phantom Thread, and I think to say that his performance in There Will Be Blood wasn't good acting is the most sincere form, which is, maybe this is an oxymoron, is the most sincere form of disingenuity that anybody has ever emailed into the show, and genuinely, that shit disgusts me. That bothers me, Nathan, that you believe that. But, and I'm not even, you know what? And I'm going to stick to this. I'm not going to say, but it's your opinion and you're allowed to have that opinion. Sometimes motherfuckers have wrong opinions. I think this one is wrong. But actually, the overall sentiment of what you're saying was what? So what was the subject line? Actors don't matter. Yeah, I think it's so important to, in a lot of instances, I think people's criticisms of movies would change if they just let it be a movie and if they just turned their brains off. And so I think the most recent example of this that I have, honestly, is the Phoenician Scheme. That new Wes Anderson that, I mean, just came out within the last, I don't know, was that May or June? When did the Phoenician Scheme come out? Within the last couple of months, you know. Listen, Asteroid City for Wes Anderson was a movie that I was like, oh, maybe you're at a stage in your career where you make movies that you're Wes Anderson. They're more symmetrical than anybody has ever made a movie. They look brilliant. You love your little push-ins. You love your little, you know, put the camera on a dolly and swing it and push and pull and swing and push and pull. You know, you love your aspect ratios, your little 4:3, and you love doing all this quirky shit, and your world building is really good, and you love your saturated colors. He's going to make a movie that looks really nice, but Asteroid City, I was just like, what the fuck is this movie? What is this? What's supposed to be going on here? Which really bummed me out. And so the Phoenician scheme, I was going into it very much like prepared to be like kind of the same thing. I was kind of impressed at how much I was just able to turn my brain off. And even if I thought the plot was a little hard to follow, this is not really like a spoiler, but like this isn't a spoiler at all. Like I thought the plot was actually a little bit hard to be like, so what the fuck are they doing? What is going on here? Because the dialogue was like just so like ba 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 ba. It was just so, it was moving along, and I had subtitles on, bro. And even if I like 80% understood what was going on, I still wasn't really that sure, to be honest with you. But I was so just into it because of, well, what's weird is I was sort of out of it because the dialogue, there was so much world building going on and there was so much shit that I didn't understand. But the dialogue was so good, and I had a lot of laughs in that movie, and I thought the actors were so brilliant. But even if it wasn't like Benicio del Toro and Michael Cera, and you know how Wes Anderson movies are, he gets everybody to be in those movies. I don't remember who played the nun in that movie. What is her name? She was also brilliant. I don't know, like, it doesn't matter who was in that movie. I just think it kind of would have been good, which I don't know if maybe that's your point, but I think the point that you're making is like, if you just let something be a movie and you don't try to nitpick everything, some things you can't do that for. Like, there are certain directors or certain movies, depending on the subject matter, that I think you do have to nitpick. Like, if it's a biopic, for example, like the Queen biopic with Rami Malek. You talk about the Oscars being a fucking hack show. That's what pisses me off, is that Rami Malek won Best Actor for playing Freddie Mercury. Was he good as Freddie Mercury? Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah, he was fine. The controversy at the time was that he wasn't the one that was singing. And then the people in his hive were like, well, actually, he is the one that's singing. And they also used somebody else to like, they like blended vocals or I don't remember what the argument was, but it was stupid. But the problem with that movie was that it was for babies. Bohemian Rhapsody, that movie, the Queen biopic with Rami Malek, it was for babies. It was the PG version of like what Freddie Mercury's life was like. And because that at the end of the day is all that anybody cared about. You think anybody gives a shit what Brian May was thinking about in the 80s? No. Who was the drummer? Roger Deacon? You think anybody gave a shit about what Roger Deacon was thinking about in the 80s? Not really. People wanted to see Freddie Mercury, like, I don't want to say having gay sex, but like they wanted to see like the nitty gritty of his life. They wanted to see like the really dark shit that he got into. And it was a movie that I think said fuck like once, maybe twice. And it was like, I don't know. They just didn't focus on the things that I think made in people's head like Queen or even like just Freddie Mercury as like one guy. So I'm kind of all over the place with this email. Again, I at the end of the day agree with what you're saying. Just to repeat it one more time. If you just let a movie be a movie, I think you'll probably just sort of be a happier person. Probably be a happy person. Let's try to do one more email, folks. copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this program. We never do ones like this. I usually just let these ones, sort of fall to the wayside, or I just respond to them individually. But I think this would be a nice one to end on, actually, because I have some stuff that I want to say at the end of it. This one comes into us from Nathaniel. Nathaniel. There's a lot of vowels in there. The subject line is thank you. Welcome to the show, brother. What's up, Nick? I usually go by Nathan, but with the growing number of Nathans, we just read an email from Nathan, cross-country skiing Nathan. That was him, right? I think that was him. Yeah, especially now that I have Nathans are delivering bad takes, like Daniel Day-Lewis wasn't a good actor and There Will Be Blood. Let's lie about more shit. Is there anything else that you guys want to lie about while we're listening, while we're doing this? Spotify question. Anything that you want to fucking lie about? I'll ask that at the end. Back to the email. Sorry. I usually go by Nathan, but with the growing number of Nathans among your listeners, I'll go by my legal name, Nathaniel. It has to be Nathaniel, unless there's like a Eal. Nathaniel. I'm going to say Nathaniel, and you just let me know if I'm wrong, brother, and I'll correct it in the future. So I apologize if I'm wrong. I graduated a little over a year ago and have been trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. I currently have a corporate job. I know it's not what I want to do long term. I have a lot of ideas and goals I want to pursue, and I've even mapped out a rough roadmap to get there. The bigger challenge has been finding the motivation or maybe the nerve to start. Fear has played a part, as well as the lack of emotional support around me as I prepare to make a leap. But I'm writing this to express my gratitude to you. You've become one of... Well, thank you very much for this. As I navigate this, I read all of this shit, but if you listen to the show, you know how this goes, brother. I don't like to... Thank you very much for all the kind words. I just don't want to... I don't like to veer credit to myself on here, so thank you very much for this. As I navigate this pivotal point in my 20s, having you as a point of reference, dare I say a role model? Don't do that. You don't want to do that. Like I said, I thought I was going to say something else to that. I guess I wasn't. Has helped me stay accountable and hopeful about my own path. So thank you. Obligatory sports take. Which NBA player inspires you the most? For me, it's Jeremy Lin. Despite facing racism and being undervalued at nearly every level of the game, he kept showing up and chasing his dream. He maximized the opportunities he was given and proved just how good he was. I really wish injuries hadn't derailed his career. I genuinely think he could have had an Oladipo level peak. It's funny to me to be like, oh, that Jeremy Lin guy was so good. It's too bad that he got hurt. He could have been like Oladipo. You mean the other guy whose career ended because he kept getting hurt? An Oladipo level peak. Well, Jeremy Lin couldn't yam like a motherfucker. I don't know why I'm being mean, because what you said about Jeremy Lin was actually really nice and very true. The most inspirational NBA player. Jeremy Lin's a good one. Maybe Carmelo. Did you guys see that clip that came out of Carmelo recently on his podcast? And he was like, yo, me and the fellas, we used to go to the strip club and we would just chop it up and we would just have a good time. But there were no chicks. We wouldn't let any chicks in our room. We would get VIP and we wouldn't let any chicks in our room. We would just go to the strip club and that was our team bonding. We would just, eat some food and have some drinks and what the huh? What? So you're telling me the 2012 New York Knicks were like popping wood as a team in a strip club, but there were no chicks around, and that was team bonding? There are other places you can go to eat food and get drinks. You don't have to go to a strip club and like not look at chicks, and that's the only place. There's and it was really what you talk about Bomani Jones, two Americas. You talk about a cultural difference. Just going to a strip club and telling women like, don't come in here. Imagine going to fucking Magic City. And, you got bottle girls and shit like that walking around, and Carmelo Anthony puts a hand on their chest, and he's like, no, this is a closed-door meeting. We don't want any girls in here. No girls allowed. You put no girls allowed on the door? You're in a strip club. You know what I mean? Where's the buffet? Can we get some 1942? A bottle girl, goes to bring it in. Hey, thanks, sugar. They crack the door open a little bit, yank the bottle out of her hand, and mush her face out of there and slam the door. Go to any other place. Go to one of your houses. Why are you at a fucking strip club if you don't want girl? I don't know. The behavior was just insane to me. Imagine any guy in the world was like, hey, babe. They say to their significant other, hey, babe, I'm going to the strip club tonight. Don't worry. We're kicking all of the girls out. We just want to hang out as boys. Who's that going to work on? No shit, Lala Anthony hated Carmelo's guts at the end. No shit. Because what is that even about? What are you talking about? Most inspirational NBA player to me? Carmelo Anthony. Because that's the funniest shit I've ever heard in my life. How is that even real? But to actually answer your email, because we've been getting a lot of these recently about some of you guys who have ideas. One of you guys called me. You emailed me like a week ago, and you were like, "Hey, can I talk to you one-on-one about an idea that I had?" And I emailed him back like 15 minutes later, and I was like, give me a call. And like later that day, we got on the phone for, I don't know, like maybe like 30 minutes. It was a while we were on the phone together. We just talked about his idea, and like, I'm available. If you guys have ideas, like I be giving out my phone number. So like, as long as there's a reason for me to give it out, you know. And there's been a lot of that lately. And to sort of reiterate some of the stuff that I said to that guy, like, one piece of advice that I always give out on this show, because I just think it's really important, is like, you have to do it to have done it. And so if whatever your ambitions are at home for something that you are wanting to try, you're scared to try, you want to dive headfirst in, but like for whatever reason you can't, like, well, you're not going to know how to do it until you do it. You know what I mean? And so especially you have a corporate job, so that is a little bit scarier, because like I imagine you have like medium at worst job security, like medium job security, worst case scenario. And so it can be scary to just like not throw it away, but like to like whatever your ideas are, especially if it's like goofball shit. I can empathize with you that it is scary to like throw away a real grown-up job that maybe you even went to school for and stuff like that. Did you say that in the email? I'm sorry. But like you have a real grown-up job, and to throw that away potentially to do something like not serious is very scary. So I think in that sense for you, it would probably just be like figuring out how to dip your toe in the water at first, and to just I kind of wish you said what the idea was in this email, so that way I could help you a little bit more directly. But just sort of blanketed like in general, because again, we've been getting a lot of these emails lately where I think a lot of you guys are sort of in, it's funny, I've personally at home been in very much in like a creative rut. It sounds like a lot of you guys out there are, your creative bubble is almost about to burst, and for whatever exterior reasons there are, you're just kind of like, oh, well, you know, I don't want to do it. Well, if you don't do it now, if you can't convince yourself to do it now for X, Y, and Z, there are going to be a million more reasons in a month not to do it. You know what I mean? And so, like, there's a reason that it's in your head that you really want to do it, is because it is meaningful to you. You know, it's easy for anybody out there to think of 100 different reasons not to do something. But ultimately, like, the reason that you keep coming back to whatever this idea is, or, you know, this creative idea is, there's a reason for that. It means something to you. It's representative of who you are at your core. And that's worth pursuing, you know, no matter what the consequence is, within reason. I'm not going to tell anybody to quit their job to like pursue being a Twitch streamer. Please don't do that, because it's not going to work. I just, with all the love and the respect in the world, it's not going to work. Don't quit your job to do that. Do that when your shift is done, and let it build up into something else. You know, there's a medium, rather a middle ground to everything. Doesn't have to be all or nothing. Yeah, but that's also what I'm saying by, like, let's say hypothetically, I'm not saying the email here, you know, oh, I want to be a Twitch streamer. Let's fucking say that's what you wanted to do, though. Don't quit your job to do that shit. But, like, dipping your toe in the water, okay, well, when I'm not at work, I'm live. Right? I want to write a book. Well, you're not going to fucking quit your job to write a book. You're going to do that. You could probably do that on the clock, honestly. One of you guys probably is like a data entry specialist. You just write a book while you're doing data entry, something like that. I don't know, man. You have to do it to have done it. And so I think, yeah, I don't know, man. Sorry, I just don't want to keep repeating myself. It sounds so dumb to just be like, if there's something you want to do that you're passionate about, like, what really are the reasons that you wouldn't just do that thing, other than you're like getting in your own head and you're convincing yourself that maybe your idea is stupid, or like maybe you're going to fail? Again, not to sound corny, but like failure in that sense is not doing the thing that would make you happy, or like failure in that sense would be not pursuing the thing that you're actually passionate about. Because I'm going to say 99 times out of 100, when somebody's working a corporate job, like, that's not actually the thing that they're passionate about. It's just the thing that they went to school for, and it's the thing that pays the bills. Right? A couple of you guys I know out there are like DoorDash drivers. None of you, I could say 100 out of 100 of you, are not passionate about being DoorDash drivers. And I'm not shaming it. I apologize if it comes off that way. But you're doing it as like a means to an end, right? So you're doing that to get you through whatever it is that you're currently doing, whether it's school or whatever else, so that you can save up enough money to do like the thing that you actually care about, right? And so like, I don't know, you're working this corporate job. I don't know, dude, like, are you doing that because it's your passion? Probably not. Sounds like you got some other shit that you want to do. So, you know, what does Nike say? What's the old Nike adage? Hashtag just do it. Got to do it to have done it. You know what I mean? That'll do it for today's show. Spotify, you got anything you want to lie about today? I don't think I have anything I want to lie about today. What's a good lie I could tell you? You guys want to do 2 truths and 1 lie? Self-explanatory game. I'm going to tell you 3 things. 1 of them is true and 2 of them are lies. The first one is I've pooped my pants before. The second one is the first time I ever bought weed, drug dogs came to the school that day. The third one is I've had 6 concussions in my life. 1 of those is true. 2 of those are lies. Speaking of 6 concussions, what was it, like a month ago? That one of you guys left a comment on YouTube where you were like, finally showed my girlfriend the show, and she said that you should get medicated. I would be lying if I said I haven't thought about that every single day. Not because it offended me, because I was like, what do you think she thinks I should get medicated for? What do you think it is? That's not a Spotify question. I guess I'm not even actually asking it. That's just what I've been asking myself. Like, for what? I haven't, it's not like I have ADHD. That's not what it is. You don't get medicated for like autism. You can get like stem cells or some shit like that. But I think everybody's a little bit on the spectrum, but like, even if I am on the spectrum, it's highly functioning and like, it's not that serious. I have like really bad nonverbal episodes sometimes. You wouldn't know that by listening to this show. But I do. And then like also like texture is a really big thing for me. Like, it's not worth explaining. Again, I think everybody's at least a little bit on the spectrum. But for me, again, very high functioning. Spotify listeners, anything that you want to just fucking lie about today? Be anything. It could be anything. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, what's up? It's crazy. So as I'm taping this, Sabrina Carpenter is playing at Lollapalooza. So like, can I see the lights? Hold on. I want to go quiet for a second because I'm going to try to like see if I can see anything. No, I can't. That's crazy. It's like there's like somebody so famous like right there. Like again, the other day, like it was Olivia Rodrigo or like Tyler the Creator. It was like right there. Weezer was like right there. And right now it's just like Sabrina closing out Lala. That's crazy. Like right there. Right there. It's like just famous people. I don't know. So cool. Apple Podcasts. What's up? What's up? If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep primary control in check. And I will catch you guys in the next one.